On today's episode of MJ Everyday, I'm joined by Jake Watson.
What's going on?
We're going to talk to you guys about how to reduce delayed onset muscle soreness. My good man Jake,
Morning.
welcome back once again.
Pleasure to be here as always.
Delayed onset muscle soreness. Let's talk about once it's set in.
Yeah.
Let's say you've trained legs, 2 days after training legs, you've got like the worst DOMs you've had in your life. How do you deal with how do you reduce the severity of delayed onset
How do you
muscle
get yourself
soreness?
going to the toilet pain-free again?
How do you get yourself dropping your wallet on the floor and saying, I'm actually going to pick that one up today?
This is hilarious. I literally sacrificed 20 cents to this exact situation earlier this morning.
You did.
Right, probably like first and foremost, like talking about it just from like a day-to-day life thing, get yourself moving.
Yeah.
Like I know so many people who like, they'll come into me for massage sessions or coaching sessions, they're like, man, I'm crippled, my legs are killing me, this is sore, this is sore, this is sore. So their first instinct is to limit movement. Like they don't want to be out, they don't want to be like, obviously their legs hurt, so they're trying to stay away from stairs and everything. Now, there's probably a lot of like studies and stuff like that people could look up for this. I might actually look up a few and try and link them through for Joe to post through to you. But getting blood flow up through that muscle is going to help. It's going to loosen, at the very least, it's going to help loosen everything up, and that in and of itself is just going to make you feel a hell of a lot better. Like we all know there's nothing worse than feeling stiff as hell, trying to move, like you can't bend down because your back's sore, all this kind of stuff. Getting some blood flow through those legs, through those glutes, through that lower back, it's going to help elicit that healing response. And again, like this is a bit of an interesting one about as to where people are going to actually say what exactly DOMS is, because the jury can still be quite out on that, because it's not necessarily that you're sore directly from training. There's a lot of like other opinions of what it could be from. But getting out there, getting moving, one of the things I'm a big fan of is actually doing recovery work through that muscle group. So if I've punched out a big squat session, like obviously coming from powerlifting and strongman background, I'm a big fan of squatting, and I like doing some really big sessions for it, is jumping on the spin bike a day or two later, or even like that night, and just putting a couple Ks through my legs and just keeping everything moving. I've noticed a huge correlation between my recovery with that. Like I remember reading something once about an Olympic swimmer, and I think he only swam 800 meters in his race, and his recovery swim was something like 4Ks, just to help flush all that lactic acid back out and get those muscles moving and healthy. And so there's a huge correlation, in my personal opinion, between moving and getting those DOMs starting to calm down a little bit.
A little bit of active recovery.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I do that kind of ties into this as well is I find stretching the muscle.
Yeah.
So if I've got like a sore chest after I train chest, just stretching it out, you know, every, I don't know, hour, couple of hours. Same with any muscle group, really. Legs,
again,
back, whatever it is.
And it's tying in towards just like, get it open, get it moving. Like, you know, you get the blood through it. Stretching's going to help elicit that response as well. It's going to help flush a whole bunch of that lactic acid back out of the muscle, which is just like horrible to have in there. And again, like, it's going to help movement. And I'm a big supporter of the fact that with movement, we get less pain. And with less movement, we get more pain. And you find that in like, you know, you might find your shoulders really sore after a chest session. And it's not inherently that you've even got DOMs in that muscle group. It's just that it's so constricted and it can't move, and it's the movement's just shitty and restricted. And that's why you're getting pain, because it can be causing inflammation, because things aren't tracking properly. You can be putting pressure on nerve endings, and that's causing you pain. So getting in there and stretching and just like getting that muscle group open again, it's just going to across the board not just help with your DOMs, but all those little associative issues that come along with it as well, especially in things like hips and shoulders, because you've got so many things tied in such close proximity to each other. That's really going to help that recovery process across the board.
And I think it probably, you know, we should mention at this point that there is a difference here between how you deal with delayed onset muscle soreness and how you deal with an acute injury that's not related to delayed onset muscle soreness, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's literally they're completely polarized.
And
right?
like, it's probably like worth mentioning as well that a lot of people can't really tell the difference between the two sometimes. I've noticed this with a lot of like newer trainees. One thing that I'd like to mention with this is lower back DOMs and people's inability to distinguish between having tender lower back muscles and a lower back injury. So like over my years as a coach, I've encountered a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't like to deadlift because every time I do it, I hurt my lower back. And then you get them to describe the pain, and all it really is erector and QL DOMs, but we have such like a negative a negative response to pain in our lower back that the first instinct is to then avoid that movement, when if anything, that DOMs response is just the fact that lower back's actually probably done some work for the first time ever, because you've avoided it for so long. So definitely my recommendation with stuff like that is get it moving again. Like, you know, replicate the movement pattern. If you've pulled up really sore from deads, chuck some lightweight or even just an empty barbell and just do some hinge pattern work, man. Get that lower back moving, loosened up. Encourage it to actually work. It's a muscle group just like anything else. And don't like let your perception of pain eradicate a movement from your training wheelhouse. That can be really beneficial to you in the long run.
There you go, guys. So if you experience, or you have right now watching this, some pretty serious DOMs, and you're trying to figure out how to get them to be, you know, a little bit more manageable,
get moving, man.
Stretch, get moving, active recovery, deal with it.
You know what, man? That's also a big part of it. Like, I have people be like, oh, when should I train again when I'm on DOMs? Because, like, you know, different strokes, different folks, people have different perspectives on volume. I'm a huge fan of hitting muscle groups multiple times a week to get them strong. Like, you know, we were just having a conversation about, like, I'll train my shoulders 3 to 4 times a week to get my overhead peaked. Yeah. I squat twice a week, year round, like I always have. Yeah. And yeah, sometimes it's just, man, up. Like, you know, I'm not a big fan of that saying, but I gotta say, like, you know, pain's part of training, man. Like, not acute injury pain. Yeah. Like, I think a huge part of being a successful athlete is learning to differentiate between DOMs and injury, and knowing when to train through and when not to. Like, you know, if like, you know, your AC joint doesn't get goddamn DOMs. Like, if your AC joint hurts, you injured it. But learning to differentiate between that and knowing that sometimes you just got to get on with it. And if you keep running from the gym every time you have a little bit of DOMs, you're not going to make progress. Like, you know, this is part and parcel that, like, you got to suffer a little bit. It's like if you backed off every set the minute the lactic acid set in, you're probably not going to be pushing that muscle quite to where you need it to get to, especially for things like bodybuilding, where pushing through that pain threshold is a huge part of it. And, like, if I didn't deadlift every time I had a little bit of lower back DOMs, I would deadlift once a year.
You'd never deadlift?
No, well, especially coming from a sport like strongman, where, like, you know, it's all well and good to sit there and be like, I'm going to recover those muscles between every session, but when you're looking at yoke, farmers, log, atlas stones, cleans, everything that involves that posterior chain, I challenge anyone to find a session where you're going to be a competitive strongman athlete and find a day you don't have a degree of posterior chain DOMs. Like, it's never going to happen. So, like, keep it moving, keep blood through it, moderate it as best you can, look after your body, and then just push through and progress intelligently is probably one of the most important things as well.
There you go, guys, and that's a wrap for today's episode of MJ Everyday. As always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn your post notifications on both on your mobile, your cell phone, and your desktop PC so you don't miss a beat when it comes to the Massive Joe's YouTube channel. Until tomorrow, I'm coming to you from MassiveJoes.com.
I'm not saying it.
Stay massive. Thank you for tuning into this video. We hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to check out our latest upload and our recommended video, and be sure to subscribe to the Massive Joe's YouTube channel to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads.